think we're muted. You're muted.
Not
At
have to
least there's
worry about it,
captions.
right? Captions saving the world. Alrighty, can you guys hear Alec?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, my friend?
Yeah, let's go. It's Scuff, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always scuff.
Alrighty.
At
Hello,
least on my
everyone.
end.
Welcome to the Morphin Multiverse, Episode 1, Seeing Red Again. For those of you new, those of you joining me here, hello, I am Arc or Arclight Court, your Gridmaster, Lighthouse Keeper, Lore Writer, and Beacon onto all beacons. But I am not alone today because Morphin Multiverse is a one-on-one multiverse building series that we're doing here on the channel with various people creating their own rangers or bringing back old rangers in specific for our guest here today. Alec, you want to tell them who you are, who you're playing?
Hello, I am Alec the GM, and I am returning as Peter Hentz, the Red Arcaknight Ranger. He was the leader of the Arcaknights for many years. Last you saw him, they defeated the evil version of Peter and saved the world. And I believe I should leave the rest of the context to you. Oh, yes?
Yes, 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 yes. So, with all of that wonderful information, at least knowing who is going to be joining us on today's adventure through the Morphin Multiverse, we'll jump into today's episode. And as we begin, we're shown a spectacle of light moving through a what appears to be a meteor in the middle of space as rays of red, green, orange, purple, pink, black, navy, steel, gold are all refracting out of this crystal. There's a moment as the audience's sight is brought into the crystal where this single beam of light enters the crystal before it separates out into all the various colors, and as it dives closer and closer to that point of dispersion, that moment of refraction, it drifts into red. Peter, it's been 20 years since you last led the Arcaknights. So really it's been close to 27, 28 years since the first time you morphed into the Red Arcaknight Ranger. In this time, you've taken it upon yourself to train and mentor future Rangers, seeing the position that the world has taken towards using ranger tech or the arsenal or the litany of capabilities of rangers towards war or violence, and not wanting that dark path that you were so aware of early on to become yet another reality to face. You took it on yourself to train these future rangers to ensure that the next group of protectors of Earth, the next team to take the mantle of the Power Rangers, would do so right. At least have the lessons and the knowledge and the wisdom that you've granted onto them in the many years of being a ranger. And even the handful of times where you have gone out as a solo Red Ranger to help teams, to interact, to have their back and protect them in dire circumstances. Even then, it's been almost 3 years since the last time you yourself have morphed. And I'll have you go ahead and describe for me first what Peter looks like now,
Mm-hmm.
and the new location that they're using to train their current
Okay.
team of rangers.
So Peter, then, if it's been that long, Peter at this point would be in his late 40s, early 50s. And so he doesn't have the clean baby face that he used to. He has a beard, kind of probably a bit longer than mine. Salt and pepper. amongst it. His hair kind of in that kind of older gentleman kind of comb over look. He's got probably a little bit longer than it should be, but he's not really too interested in being perfectly like creamed and whatever. So it's a little bit longer. Probably same the salt and pepper on the sides. Um, he is definitely got wear and tear on his face. The age lines, couple of scars across his face, especially one across his face from the fight with his evil version of himself. Um, and as far as like what he's wearing, it would be probably like blue jeans, like boots, a red T-shirt as probably the only homage to who he used to be, and then like maybe a black jacket or flannel, something like a little bit. He needs to go shopping. Like these clothes are old and kind of messed up a little bit. Um, his grimoire still in his back pocket. And as far as where that you're operating out of, so before the team broke up, he had his red Dragon Zord upgraded quite extensively, knowing that he wanted to continue on the work. But close the book on the Arcaknights. He had the Red Dragon Zord upgraded to a mobile headquarters, so it's almost quadruple the size it was in the heyday of the Arcaknights. It's this now massive dragon that has within it a mobile headquarters. So it has sleeping quarters, it has a training room, it has all of the tech that he would need to operate solo, but also train people along the way. And it's been a while, and so the Red Dragon Zord hasn't really seen much action. And so it's probably like there'll probably be some valley somewhere or it's like deep in a forest where the Red Dragon Zord is just kind of like almost curled up, where some of like vegetation and things have grown over the top of it, and just a place to enter and leave. As he would probably just teleport to most places he needs to go, not bringing out this engine of war, just to pick some pizza up, because it's his only mode of transportation beyond teleportation. But that would be it.
So as it's not the starting of the day, and it's nowhere near the end of the day. The sun is reaching its peak in the sky, and it's very visible through the like hologram projectors inside of the mobile Dragon Zord, showing you what the skyline is, and it's bright sun. Almost like tank tracks to the base of this this form, a small they appear to be wooden, like made of wood automaton kind of like rolls in towards you, whose name is Dryad. And Dryad comes wheeling towards you and goes, they are ready for instruction.
Are they actually ready, or
I've ensured it. Dryad has been he's the bad cop to your good cop when it comes to training these new rangers. He's more of the take them out to the training area, flip them upside down, put them in a Russian suplex every once in a while. Like, you're gonna learn and you're gonna do it right.
Mm-hmm.
To maybe wean off some of your gruff demeanor that you've carried over all of these years, that they might look at it as endearing compared to going into another sparring session with Dryad.
Right.
There are... Tylo in specific has questions.
Questions about what?
Questions about the other side of light.
Okay. Well, we should squash that as soon as possible.
Would you like me to accompany you there to give the image to your words?
Yes. That'll be fine.
I'll stay quiet so they pay more attention.
Yes, let's keep them perhaps unharmed during this training session.
As you ask. And you just kind of, those tank tracks that are almost like vines and small wood planks.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you know that Dryad themselves isn't actually made of this old archaic wood, or as they appear to be. This was the last homunculus made by Nico when you did all of the upgrades. As he was like, hey, you're going to need somebody to kind of like clean the place up and, maybe make sure you're not, bleeding out in the corner somewhere, So here you go.
Much to Peter's chagrin. Much to Peter's chagrin. I think he reluctantly took on Tylo.
So as you guys leave your quarters, going down one of the corridors here within the mobile fortress, the walls of the mobile fortress have, similar to like the Zeo and Turbo command center look, where there are tubes with the uniforms and weapons of each of the ranger teams from the Arcaknights up to the present team that kind of line the walls. Each one having like a plaque with their name, their station, how long they were a ranger. If any of them had passed away, there's like a memorial kind of motion towards any of those. But it's passing by each one of these ranger suits that it those memories start to tinge back. The first curse from the Chimera, the argument in the power chamber over the Notoriah, and those things are becoming a little bit more forefront with this approaching conversation. And as you get to that moment, replaying the memory of arguing with Dior, Dryad then says, right, we make a right.
Oh, yep, right. Just a bit tired today.
It's been a day. As you turn right, you're now in essentially like the instructional space. 3 desks have been set within the area. There's a large, like almost whiteboard, but it's one of those smart boards where you just say something and it writes it on there for you.
Right.
Very rudimentary drawings if needed. But all in all, like giving information about the morphing grid, your experiences fighting certain creatures, or how Zords, combine, things of that nature. This is where that would happen. And seated in the room are the 3 who've started calling themselves the Proto Rangers. Your 3 students. The first one, very noticeable, because she always makes it a point that her desk is a little bit more forward and a little bit closer to the front than the other 2, is Amara.
Yes, got it.
Is Amara. There's already like notebook papers set out in front of her, a handful of pens, pencils, highlighters, like ready to take in any notes, any information that you're giving. Long chestnut brown hair, very, very smooth, almost like walnut tinged skin, bright blue eyes. There's Amara, just ready, waiting. We're here for instruction. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to know everything that needs to know about everything. On her left is Tylo, the Triforian. A young boy, a young man, at least in the current regenerated form that he has taken, as Triforians being a other than earthly species of humanoids, they regenerate or resurrect themselves after experiencing strong emotions or strong conflicts and things of that nature. And currently this is Tylo the Courageous. And this name comes from the last regeneration that they took, left several clawed scars up the side of their face, which is from the last time you had morphed. You had rescued Tylo from a monster attack and sensed this connection to the morphing grid and sensed this power within them. Shaggy black hair, where the scars that are coming up, there are those like lines between the hair itself. It's weirdly symmetrical how these cuts are up his face.
Mm-hmm.
A tinge of gold and honey in the eyes, and just a very stoic face at this current time.
Okay.
And the third, Ezekiel. Ezekiel was the most recent student that you had come across and brought into the fold of the morphing grid. Your run-of-the-mill, very excited, very ready to prove himself, wants to be the leader, but doesn't know if he's going to be the leader. They haven't had any real missions. They've just been training, but he likes to think that he is I'm that guy. I'm going to be the one to bring everybody together and make the calls and do the right thing. The half and half split cut hair, one side is like pearl white, where it's got like the shimmers of silver into it. The other side, like a deep maroon red that's just kind of hanging over the other side. Brown eyes, fairer complexion, even lighter than Tylo's, where Tylo has this very pale look to him, but you could still see some coloration to him. Ezekiel could pass for a ghost if necessary. But you see the three of them are all now seated there. Amara, again, like normal, the only one with paper, pen, pencil, anything on their desk.
Okay. Peter would kind of take his place at the front of the class, take off the jacket that he was wearing, kind of set it on the back of the teacher's desk chair that he's probably got there. Peter, even though he's older, has maintained his body for missions. So even though the skin is older, pockmarked with scars, he's still got a decent build to him. As he kind of comes around the front of the desk and sits down, and it was Ezekiel that had questions, right?
Tylo.
Or it was Tylo. So, before we begin today's lesson, Tylo, I am told you have questions.
I have an idea I think is more appropriate of wording.
Okay.
He kind of like looks over towards Amara and Ezekiel for a second, and then Amara goes, so the morphing grid, like you've explained and you've shown us and you've taught us about, we are witnessing a bloom. Like there's so much more good energy coming from the morphing grid than there are active bad or evil energy that's coming out. And the morphing grid, like you've explained, is all about balance and is about ensuring balance for the safety of all life and all sentient beings. That what if this is like a precursor? Like, what if something really big and bad is going to happen, and that's why all of this good energy is coming out? Like, that's why. And Ezekiel then chimes in. What if that's why you didn't have to train the rangers that are fighting now? Like, what if they're stronger than all of the other rangers beforehand, because of this grid bloom, and they're gonna have to face off against an evil that was much larger, much more powerful than the ones you and the others have faced before. And Tylo has an idea, and like kind of, I'm still not 100% sold on it. Kind of look to the face,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then Tylo finally speaks. What if we try to harness that energy before it's given to something else?
You'd hear the desk that he's holding on to crack. As his grip just tightens on the desk, and like he looks at the piece of wood he broke off the desk and looks to Dryad and sorry. There was a great evil many years ago, and nearly ended all the light. And it happened because someone had the same idea as you, using the dark side of the morphing grid for good purposes. You follow that path, nearly every ranger was murdered, the world destroyed, most people killed. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ark, but Peter would say, I believe that this bloom we're seeing is the grid compensating for the amount of death and destruction that that force caused.
Give me, it either be morphing grid tech or
Like, would Peter think that this bloom is because he turned into Lord Drakon?
give me morphing grid tech or culture.
I'm. Let's do.
Morphing
I'm
grid tech
better
would be
at.
technology.
Yep. So D4 and a D6. So that is. So I take the highest, right? I take the
Yes.
highest and I add it. So that's a 19 plus 3 for a 21.
Okay.
Culture.
22.
Culture. Or, yeah, 22. Alec can't do math.
For culture?
Yeah, culture.
Okay. From everything that you've witnessed, from all of the rangers that you've trained up to this point, and the fact that nothing else even remotely close to the level of darkness or evil or malicious power that you guys had faced almost over 20 years ago has come to be, that this is a justifiable answer. It's
Right.
not a, you couldn't confirm it 100% unless you went to the space in between, found the Morphin Matron, and said, is this the reason why? Like, that would be the only way to get the most direct answer. But from your awareness and your understanding of everything, what you've said is the closest to possible or probable.
Right. So then Peter would say, so say you find a way to use the dark side of the grid. What would you do with that power? And he'll look right at Tylo with this question very pointedly.
What if we're not using it in a way to weaponize? Like, it's not in a case of taking on the dark side of the morphing grid to ourself, but more so, what if we were able to store it away? What if we were able to put it into like a battery or a receptacle? Like, when we see it starting to overflow, we can divert that energy here. And we know that we have control over it. We know that it didn't go somewhere where it would cause harm. And we can then figure out a way to dispose of it or destroy it or get rid of it.
Peter will wave a hand to Dryad, and Dryad has the capability of displaying things, right? And a scene pops up on the the hologram screen or what have you of Peter nearly killing the team when he did the first grid break. When he first became the Dark Paladin Ranger, or the Oathbreaker, as he displays that, and then waves his hand again, and then like the next like just continues to display what the Oathbreaker eventually turned into, and then shows the destroyed world where they found Wally, the attack on the Resistance base, the murder of Frankie, like all of that stuff again and again, and just displays it, and then just pauses it on the image of the evil version of himself coming to our world, and stabbing him. I believe I got stabbed through the chest or something by him.
He stabbed your mom through the chest.
He stabbed my mom, right? Stabbed my mom through the chest, and just like the level of devastation. And I kind of lean back and I go, I thought I could do the same thing. I thought I could use their power to fight against them. And it's not a power you can control. You cannot control darkness. Darkness can only be balanced out by the light. And in attempts to controlling it, it sent me down a path that would have destroyed everything. I murdered my friends. I killed my family. I murdered every ranger there ever was or would be. And it was only because a split chance that we stopped that.
You could see Tylo's like fighting against whatever it is he wants to say or tries to find the words to say before Amara speaks up and goes, but that's using it. I think what Tylo is talking about is like containing it, like just not allowing it to flow out, not allowing it to gain purchase on anything, not accessing it, not using it, but just like putting it away.
So then you remove the other side of the scales, then what happens? You're removing one side of the scale, balance, right? You're removing one side, so what happens?
Yeah, it would just keep getting more. It would just keep trying to compensate.
It would grow out of control eventually. Both sides of the grid without the other, meant to balance it. It would lead to an event that I can't even imagine.
Tylo then goes, and what if that's what causes that overflow to happen? Is by trying to control the scales.
Say that like you have seen what happens.
No, it's like, and he like gestures towards the draconic overlord image that's still like it's almost like 4D. He could walk around this classroom if he wanted to.
Right.
And then like motions towards you. If the situations played out in the way that it was seen or intended, this is what you would have been. But the morphing grid, in an act of balancing it, sent Wally to you during those times of vulnerability. And that allowed that balance to be brought back without actively just pushing more power at you or the others.
Correct. Where are you going with this, Tylo?
And you can see, as you have seen with them, though they can't themselves. A small orb of black morphing grid energy just kind of hovering over one shoulder, and then an orb of gold morphing grid energy hovering over his other. What if I didn't ask about this and I had just done it?
It would have been incredibly irresponsible.
And there would have been an overabundance of dark morphing grid energy kept in some kind of container or battery. And when the scales would move to rebalance, there wouldn't need to be a force of power onto other entities or beings, when they would just then have the opportunity and access to a wealth of power and energy that I would be trying to hide away.
Correct. And Alec, would they know that they're meant to be the next three?
No. And this will
Got it.
be when we inform the watching and wonderful audience. Peter, why did you take on teaching these three in particular?
Peter was told that these three are destined to be the next morphing masters. And so Peter would want, well, he's been kind of hands off, maybe just a lesson here and there with other teams. This team, he wants to make sure that they know the level of responsibility at which they are going to carry. And so he took them on as his personal pupils.
And these orbs that are appearing around Tylo, they are indicative of which morphing master's powers and positions he will take on at some point in the future.
Right.
And it's that wisdom. Like you're seeing that wisdom of the balance of the morphing grid from the gold light. And you're seeing that stalwart acceptance of responsibility. Like, if I did do this, I would be the one who caused the opposite,
the next
shift
calamity
from the black morphing grid light. Like, you're seeing that interaction take place between the energy, like moving through him as he's saying these things. It was an idea. We're worried. We know we're supposed to be rangers, or we're going to be rangers, but seeing all of the good that's happening and all the good that has happened, we're worried that when we take the mantle, that, and Ezekiel says, we'll face something stronger than that.
Since the Draconic Overlord, the Rangers are not as they were before, where it was scattered. You know, the Arcaknights, before we left, we did a good job of making sure we all stay in communication, because the power of Power Rangers doesn't come from the individual. It comes from the spectrum, as he gestures to the three of you. And so your anxiety about this and your worry is great, because it means you care. And it means you understand the level of what this could lead to. But you have a responsibility to maintain balance, because on a spectrum of color, when you combine all the colors, what do you get?
White. Light.
Get white.
Ezekiel says.
You get black. You get black. If one person holds all of the colors, all of the power, it gets muddled. It gets dirty, right? It's meant to be balanced across a spectrum. And so the three of you need to use this time of good.
Oh, you mean yourself. Like if you're like holding like crayons or something and you just like... It
Correct.
becomes black.
Correct.
Okay, I was
Yes, if you
thinking
put all of
it
the
was
colors in
more like science, like light, and because it's the
one.
spectrum and. No, but I get it. I get it. I get it.
Yes.
I get it. Like he's looking at
Yes.
Dryad the whole time.
Dryad, he'll just put his hand up to Dryad, so Dryad doesn't do anything. But he'll say, so you must learn and use this time to be prepared. And I'll be honest, your first time in the field, your first time facing down a world-ending threat, you will not be ready. I could train you all day long. The only thing that teaches you is actually doing it. So, unless Ark has other plans, I think it's a great time for an exercise. Please follow me to the training room.
Yes, and Ezekiel like stands up, but he didn't step out of the desk, so the front like wood panel portion of it is like hooked at his waist, and the chair's sticking up behind him. You could see that little bit of red energy like dancing through him, and then the white energy dancing through him. He's like, oh wait, he like sits back down and like tries to move himself to shift out of the chair. Amara like is closing notebooks, putting pencils away, looking down, whole like 4 or 5 sheets, and they're in-depth like descriptions of each of the scenes that you had shown. And there's like notes of direct quotes of what Tylo was saying, of what Ezekiel was saying, her own little quote she's got in like fine cursive, and it's like highlighted instead of the other two. But she starts cleaning everything up, putting it all away. Like, are we like the whole thing, or
Do they have their morphing powers already?
yes?
Okay. Have your morphers ready. And Peter will just walk to the practice room.
You just, as leaving the room, you can just feel the excitement coming off of Ezekiel, the confusion coming from Amara, and the dread coming from Tylo. So you
Okay.
leave and go and start prepping the training room. What is the exercise that you have in mind for them?
So the exercise I have in mind, because I think at this point, Peter would have enough control over his spectrum, like his part of the powers, that he is going to, for a brief period, manifest the Oathbreaker, and see how they do against the Oathbreaker.
Okay.
And we can do it as just like a cinematic thing. If you don't want to
yeah.
get into the combat, but
Do you want to get into the combat? Because I'm cool either way.
yeah, sure, it works for me.
All right, let's do this.
But just to train them, and as they enter the room, I'd assume Dryad would be ready to like, turn on the cannons or whatever he does.
Dryad
to
was already
train
in
them.
the room and had Caliburn and Excalibur like in sheaths on his back, waiting for you to just be like, this one today, and
Yep.
draw it out.
Peter will walk up to Dryad and he'll take he'll like hover over Excalibur, and then he'll look at Dryad and he goes, have some medical equipment ready. And I will pull Caliburn out of the sheath, kind of looking at a sword that I probably really haven't looked at or wielded in like 3 years.
It still shines in the blackened steel that it was forged from. The serrated edges look slightly dulled towards coming closer towards the pommel, but still just as heavy.
Cool, sorry.
Oh, you're good. Go for it.
And I was gonna say, so as they walk in, Peter will have the kind of his hands resting on top of the hilt with the sword in between his legs, and he goes, "Morph when you're ready."
All right. Whew. Ezekiel's like pumped. He is like beyond. This is the greatest day for him right now, because one, he's not fighting Dryad, and two, he gets to morph. It is.
Mhm.
You have made it very abundantly clear that morphing is only in the absolute necessary. If training calls for it, I will be the one who trains you during that time, but we do not just morph whenever. We don't just do this. Very strict training policy to that. But Ezekiel's hyped. The Proto Rangers have two almost like silvered bracelets on their wrists. And there's, for Ezekiel, there is a red gem on the top of the one in his left hand, and almost like a pearl or like a bit of marble on the one on his right. He puts both hands out in front of him, wrists crossed over, draws them across his waist before they form into the protomorphers, which are very similar to the zeomorphers. In that there's an actuatory device and then a crystalline device. The actuatory features the gem on the left hand, the crystalline, the one on the right. And as they take form, Ezekiel, Proto Rangers, morph in time, and crosses hands. The crystal interacts. This whole swirl of red and white energy wraps around him before this very, compared to the Arcaknights, a very sleek, armored ranger form appears. For those watching, very similar to like the 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers uniforms, where they had the more of an armor look to it, but still sleek to the body fitting. This crash of white up one side with a jagged line down the middle of it, with a crash of red on the other. The helmet sitting perfectly back is almost all glass, like all this like see-through transparent crystal of some kind, with the like 1/4 or 1/3 helmet piece that wraps up towards the back that has the same clash of red and white with this blackened visor over the whole top. And Ezekiel is ready. He is in front of the other two, like, is it 1-on-1? Is it all three of us? Like, how do you want to do this?
You're gonna need all three of you.
Yes.
Bro, so good.
Amara moves her hair back behind her shoulders, crosses both bracelets, drawing them across, them turning into the protomorphers, doing the call out, this same clash of blue up one side, silver up the other, and where her hair was previously, as it was hanging over her shoulders down her back, there now looks to be almost like this small bit of cloth or Morphinex armor that is laid down the back from the helmet that runs down there and then closes off to the end of it, where you are aware her hair, that's where her hair sits inside of this, still fully protected, but none of that we're squeezing a dog head into a helmet this big. This all makes actual
It makes
sense.
a comical sense. Comical sense, yep.
That clash of blue and silver on Amara's Proto Ranger form. Tylo crosses the wrists and waits. And he's just staring at Caliburn. Draws his hands open. Goes into the morphing sequence. Again, armored, sleek ranger form. Black up one side. And instead of seeing a clash of another color on the opposing side, there's just gold lightning bolts down the body of the whole uniform.
Okay.
The last time Tylo saw that sword wielded was when you had saved him.
Okay.
And you
Um,
are aware of that, like, recognition, and then the, okay, that's what I'm up against.
and you'll see as they all morph, Peter will just close his eyes for a moment, and digging deep, he will open a door that he probably hasn't opened in a long time, and let rage fill him. Just a little bit, just enough, as it's almost like sparking a fire. Like just like where there's already kind of that flame burning in him of the red spectrum, but he just puts a little gas on it, and there is this kind of explosion of wind from Peter that rolls over the room, maybe buffeting the three rangers, buffeting Dryad, as there's this kind of blackened fire that begins to crawl up Peter's legs and up his waist and over his chest and then up and over his head and his arms, as it looks like Peter sets himself ablaze for a moment,
Burning.
just burns himself alive. And then he swings Caliburn to the side as all of the flames focus down into Caliburn, leaving the sword burning, and in its place, his Oathbreaker form, that kind of obsidian black, broken red, knight-like armor, that more demonic dragon-like helmet on the top, that long flowing red cape off the back, and like through the visor in that kind of modulated voice that he has, he goes, "Today is your first test against something from the dark." As Peter will just kind of like crouch, almost like coil his muscles, and I think before Ezekiel knows what's happening, Peter's in his face. And I will roll to
Yes.
hit Ezekiel.
Yes. Do it.
All right. So and I'll be using Caliburn.
And as you're rolling this for me, what is your willpower score now at this point in time?
At this stage, it's 20.
Is 20? Okay.
20. Yeah, it's 20. I don't intend to be in this form for long. Oh, did I do the thing right? I think I clicked on it wrong. Rolling to hit is it's D20 plus my
power weapon, brawn, might, which one do you have for your
it would be brawn. It would
Yep.
be brawn. So that is Jesus Christ. That is a 29. With that first strike.
Yep. 100%. You clear the distance between you and Ezekiel, and he's still in that like downward long exhale of breath before you're right in front of him. And are you bringing the sword completely up him? Are you just like bringing the pommel into the base of the helmet?
So Caliburn does 7 damage at the stage of me at this level of Peter. So what I would do is I would try to be... Oh, I rolled... Hold on. It's actually a 37. Excuse me. It's actually a 37. As Peter will be using the flat side of the blade and almost like backhanding it with... so that's like...
So you're doing stun,
non-lethal,
which is non-lethal, instead of the lethal form of damage. Okay.
Correct.
So stun, what it will do is it'll essentially put them at a snag and a downshift on their next turn entirely. It's not going to physically cause damage to them, but it is going to set them back on the off foot. Oh shit, I just got hit by a Red Ranger with over 20 years of experience as a Red Ranger type shit.
And because I have 4 attacks, he stumbles backwards, and I go, "You will not have time to be ready when some of your enemies face you. So get up!" And I will go to strike Amara next.
Okay.
As I'll do the same thing. That's just a straight 30 again with the stun, knocking her backwards.
Okay.
And then I think as Amara now stumbles, because does that hit Amara?
Yeah, 30 definitely hits training rangers.
Yes, yes. As she is knocked to the side, I go, "You will not have your notes in the field. You must apply that knowledge." And then I will step to Tylo, and I think with Tylo, he is not going to use the sword on Tylo. I
Okay.
think he is going to use one of his burning fists
Just
instead, and just same
right.
thing, going for the stun, not trying to harm them, in the sense of like beyond their pride,
Yeah.
not trying to hurt them. So that is gonna be a 32 on that one, as I knock Tylo backwards.
Yep. And each one of these strikes, you can see, and you're aware. You have honed not only your body, but your interactions with the increased strength of the morphing grid,
Right.
the increased reflexes. That even with those swipes, those hits, there's to others at your level, they could see that these were more like flourishes. These
more like tap.
weren't full bore tearing into anybody. These are deftly done.
Yeah. And as I strike Tylo in the face, and I'll go, "Do you think this can be contained?" And then I'll use my last attack for Power Quake to send all three of them, like this huge explosion of power, to send all three of them tumbling across the room.
They'd all be at a downshift and at disadvantage. So I'm just going to roll 1 for all 3 of them. Hey, that's a crit on the D4.
Let's go, boy.
But a natural 1 on the D20s.
Damn.
So as the power quake goes off, you can see they're even more like unsettled. The 3 of them all knocked prone after this initial flurry from what could be argued to be the most powerful Red Ranger on the planet currently. Ezekiel's the first one to jump up to his feet. And as he does, crossing his hands in front of him, wrists one over the other, you could see almost like a dagger made of marble and like metal, the same morphinite like metal to the handle and the crossguard there, and then like a small shield over the front of his right hand that has that same like ruby crystalline nature to it, but has that same metal ring around the outside. These are his power weapons is the marble dagger and the ruby buckler. The buckler can take the shape of his full hand to a small arm shield, essentially.
Like Captain America almost.
Yeah. And he gets up to his feet, and while you're standing there, he goes to rush forward, trying to like feign the buckler at the sword in case you raise it up to attack him, and then swing the dagger down into your waist. Those are with disadvantage. Hey, that's pretty good. That's 21 to your toughness.
32.
Yeah, no.
I don't think Peter won't move the sword. He'll just like take the hit. Does he only get one attack?
He only has one attack at this current time, so the marble dagger does move across your waist, and you felt it.
Yeah, I felt it. I can't remember how initiative works. Is it they'll all go now?
All 3 of them will go now, and then back to you.
Yeah.
And he, after doing that, he's like, you're aware of their communications. Would you be tapped into their communications at the same time?
I'd be tapped in to hear them work together.
Okay.
Yeah, so that I can like take note on how they are working together. You know what? Actually, no. I'm just going to witness it and watch them work together.
Okay.
I don't want that. I don't want that to change the way that they would work together, because be like, he's listening. He wouldn't be tapped in.
So it's already, that tab was clicked off before you even had morphed. It was already turned off.
Yeah.
Well, Ezekiel then, without hearing anything, you see him move to reposition himself to be between you and Tylo.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the small ruby buckler in one hand placed over the elbow with the dagger hidden underneath his arm, and he's in that like defensive stance waiting for you to pressure forward. Amara rolls out to be behind Tylo. Give me an alertness. If you have perception, you can use perception as your specialization for it.
Okay, got it. So this would be got it. Okay. That is a crit on the D6. Plus 13, so that's 19.
So 19, okay. Similar to Ezekiel, again, you've been training these three. You're aware of their combat prowess. You're aware of their thought process, though you might not be tapped into their comms at the moment. You know that Amara is moving to be behind Tylo and is summoning the Sapphire Blaster and the Silver Whip. She is setting up to take her shot, and if needed, use the whip to pull Ezekiel out of range of your next attack.
Got it.
So she's trying to keep herself at a distance and then still be able to interact with her teammates. She's going to pop one shot at you and misses entirely. A bolt of sapphire energy goes right over the shoulder, just winging past you, but you could see the dance of the silver whip around the floor near Ezekiel's feet, like ready to pull him back to be out of range of an attack. And is now, at this point, Tylo.
Okay.
Tylo goes to stand. As he stands between Ezekiel in front of him, and Amara behind him. Even through the morphed form, you can see there's a quaking to his body.
Like fear or rage?
Like adrenaline has been dumped, but it hasn't decided in what direction it's going to go in. But there is that shaking before the decision is made. I'm going to roll for that real quick. Okay. Ezekiel, or Tylo, puts both hands in front of him, and you see a staff start to form, like floating there for just a moment in gold energy. And before he goes to grab it, his entire body is wrapped in black and gold energy, and he is pulled up. He's gonna try something dumb. Hey, that okay, maybe, not really. Your toughness is fucking 30 something.
30.
But with a 24, it hits you, but to no avail, essentially. You can feel the bladed edge of the gold kusarigama and the blackened chain that hangs off the end, the obsidian chain, as the blade catches onto your shoulder on the hand that wields Caliburn and is trying to force that arm down, to like force it out of position. Finds purchase and pulls as hard as he can. Do you allow it, or do you just hold firm?
So it'll be my turn next, yeah?
Yes.
I've got an idea. I'll allow myself to be pulled initially.
Okay.
So as he, and then is he done? So I can take my turn next.
Yeah. Once he feels that give way, that is his one attack. His free action was teleporting behind you, and then making the attack.
So as he pulls, and then they all see Peter begin to get pulled forward, he's using this feint to grab Amara's whip off the ground,
Mm-hmm.
the end of her whip, and then yank it so that Amara hits Ezekiel and then hits Tylo.
Okay.
As he just kind of pulls it like a ripcord for a Beyblade, and so they go bang, 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 bang,
Yeah.
as they all topple on top of each other.
Give me Brawn first for the initial
Yeah.
pull, and then it'll be athletics to essentially drag her and into the next, and then into the next.
So that is 50. That's 36.
Yep.
36 for the brawn.
Yep. So then it'll be an athletics check for Amara into Ezekiel, and then an athletic check for the two of them into Tyler.
Just for fun, I have advantage. Hold on. That's a natural 20, so that is nearly a 40 out of 37. So one more.
God, Jesus. Okay.
And as Peter does this, he goes, "You may not be able to be relying on your worked out plans, so now you need to improvise." As I pull her into him to just disrupt their formation that they were
setting
using.
up.
Yeah. Yep. That's attack 1, I guess.
Yep.
Does that count, or is that my full?
No, that definitely counts as we'll say it counts for 2 attacks because it was grabbing, pulling, and then pulling into the final member of the squad.
Yep. And as they all kind of tumble backwards, Peter will release the whip, and he goes, "They may attack you in this space. They may attack you when you're not ready, and so you need to improvise. Show me your improvisation." And he will basically take Caliburn, and he'll draw a line, and he'll step in front of it, and he goes, "Push me over this line." And then I'll end my turn.
All right. Up first, trying to lead the charge. Ezekiel, you see, shifts the ruby buckler from being hand-sized to the full forearm, and then moves to be in front of the other two and just braces. He's just holding at that point. Since you don't have their comm links, I'm not going to tell you what they're
don't tell me.
doing there. But he has taken a full brace and hold with the shield in front. Amara gets right behind Ezekiel and moves the whip, like tosses the whip forward, and you can see it like spiral around the shield itself, giving this combining of powers and weapons. And there's now that handle over the top where she has a grip on the handle of the whip, where Ezekiel has the shield there. Again, no idea what the comms are. Next up is Tylo. And I have to roll for this again, because you still have Caliburn out. He's still going to do something stupid.
Okay, buddy, I would say what.
You see the obsidian chain then come out from Tylo's hand, wrapping around the silvered whip, adding another layer to this shield. And right as Tylo goes to put his hand onto Amara's shoulder, that same funnel of black and gold energy wraps over Tylo at first, and then the other two of them, and then around the shield, and it starts spinning at you fast. Almost as fast as you got in front of Ezekiel earlier.
I think there's raised eyebrows underneath his helmet as that moves so fast.
You would
Singular raised eyebrow.
You would recognize it, but not in this configuration. This is a common fighting style of Tylo called Gold Rush, where he just teleports in directions to attack people and assail people. to keep their attention in other places. But this has now been funneled and like curated and focused with the other two. This is different.
Good.
So I'm going to roll for their combined attack against you. And this, would you be actively evading it, or are you holding that position for them to force you back?
There's a lesson I have for them if they hit me. So I'm just
Okay.
Peter's just standing there waiting.
Okay. So then this will be towards your evasion instead of your toughness, because they've realized we can't just muscle the old man. We've got to find other means.
Yep.
That is an 18. That is a 21. Spending one of their story points. They are not getting a natural one on this cool combined team effort against their teacher. That's not happening. Well, okay, that is a crit. The last one was a crit.
That's my kid.
Comes to a total of 25, but was a critical success on the D20. You can feel Ezekiel wasn't as prepared for this as he thought he was. Amara is trying to coordinate where this is going. And Tylo is being the push.
Yep.
Ezekiel might be the weak link to this attack at this current juncture, but it does find purchase, and your foot gives just a bit. It's not over the line, but it's... And now it would be...
Peter's go? So do they like impact and then stay where they were, or do they do the kind of Power Ranger thing where they cross through the target?
They're still on you, and that energy is still wrapped around the three of them as they're like pushing as hard as they can combined.
Okay. So as they're pushing against Peter, he takes one step back. He goes, "That was very good. Great improvisation. Our next lesson is that most dark beings that you go up against, they don't just have one form." And then Peter will throw his hands up as Dryad fires Excalibur to him, as he grabs Excalibur and Caliburn and puts them together, as there's a rush of red and gold over Peter as he takes his Guildmaster form and then just brings it down flat side over the top on the three of them.
Okay. This will be one attack, but it will affect all three of them at once. Okay. The highest toughness out of the three of them is an 18.
I rolled 3 crits on the other die and a natural 20 on the D20.
Shit.
They are cratered. They are fucking cratered.
There's a burst of this black and gold energy that was wrapped over them, and almost a crater into the ground as that softened edge, or the slighted edge,
Yep,
connects into the top of what you now through the energy see was like Tylo's back, Amara's shoulder and head leaned forward, and the entire top of Ezekiel's head holding the shield forward. As you connect into all three of them, and all three of them just hit the floor, and there is just a crater there.
Do they demorph, or
are you inflicting damage? Because you've just been stunning them to this point.
I think at this point, Peter would probably do enough. He would do exactly enough damage to get them to demorph.
Okay. With 7 points of damage on the blade, just standard as it is, not counting all of the crits that you just had on it, that would be enough to demorph all three of them in that moment. And as the dust settles, the energy kind of like pulses off of their bodies. You see the three of them are like deep heaving, like
Mm-hmm.
shit. Um,
Um, Peter would drop would turn back to normal Peter. At this point, sending Caliburn and Excalibur back to Dryad.
Tylo pushes himself to stand up and swings at you, unmorphed.
That's fine. That's fine. My toughness is just as bad in my unmorphed form. It's like a 28 in my fucking non-morphed form.
Oh, he's so close. That was a 24.
Okay.
So close.
So Peter would take the hit on the chin, wherever he goes or wherever he hits him, and he'll just kind of do that thing where he'll just turn his head back to face Tylo, and will put his hand on Tylo's shoulder, and he'll go, "That's what you need to do as a Power Ranger. Never give up, but don't be rash." And then Peter will just push him back into his friends, as I will just shove him back into his friends.
No roll needed. They're all at one. They're all tired.
Yeah. Yep.
But in that, holding his fist at your chin and even placing your hand to him, that quaking is still present. Like there was, the decision was made. Like,
right,
we're not running, we're not freezing, we're fighting. No matter what I've seen this person do, what I know they're capable of, we're fighting. And that was the takeaway from seeing and feeling that still shakiness to his form. The three of them start licking their wounds and are like, okay, all right.
Peter will sit on the edge of the crater that the three of them are in, and will, this is an adult Power Ranger show, pull out a pack of cigarettes, and light up a cigarette in front of these three kids, and I'll go, okay, so what did we learn?
Ezekiel, finally steadies himself and goes, you have way too much cool stuff. That's what I took from this. Can you turn into that thing too? And motions back towards where the training room or the instruction room was. It's like, can you turn into that too whenever you want? Like, is that just an option for you also?
No, I cannot. I can't coach Draconic Overlord.
No. This is the world where the spell of I can never go evil exists.
Right. Now, Ezekiel, what did you do after all of your friends were thrown aside by my first attack? Did you check on them, or did you attack me first?
I attacked you first because I figured I could give them a chance to get on up and get involved.
Now, prior to that, you saw an enemy take out you and your team in a single rush of movement. And so you thought it would be a good idea to take that enemy on by yourself.
I had to give it a shot.
Did you? Or would it have been better to rally with your team, which you guys ended up doing a bit too late?
Yeah, but you move really fast.
I'm hearing excuses, Ezekiel.
Yeah, but they're good observations.
I think Peter's going to give him that look that he's probably given them many times, where he's not going to say anything. They can tell he's probably biting on the end of his cigarette and just doing that teacher look, just waiting for the correct answer.
Probably should have made sure Amara got a better position to take shot, and that Tylo was already armed and not waiting to summon his stuff. That would have probably been good.
Good. Amara? look to Amara next.
And she's like
What have you learned?
rubbing her eye. She's all that he's an idiot. He knows that. Okay, like we just saw you show us all of the crazy bad stuff that you are capable of, and that if you wanted to, you could decimate any rangers that wanted to take you on in one-on-one combat. We should have just taken a few steps back, known where we were going to be positioned, and planned something, anything.
Amara, you're part of this team too, aren't you?
Yeah, and
So are you going to keep blaming your team members? Or are you going to take responsibility that you should as a member of this team?
it just happened really fast. We could have coordinated on our way here, but we didn't. We were just. Ezekiel was stoked that we were getting to morph, and Tyler was quiet. I was thinking of plans, but I didn't really say anything.
Peter will just kind of like pull the cigarette from his mouth and point at her. He goes, "You are part of this team. Your voice matters just as much as theirs. So if you have a plan, if you have an idea, speak it into your teammates. Talk to your teammates. What is the strength of the Power Rangers?
Being a team.
Very good. Tyler.
He's still like shuddering in. He's looking at you, and he's standing full upright, ready, but there's still that quaking. That
Take a
shuddering.
breath, Tyler. Take a breath. The fight's over.
I shouldn't have just dove into fighting after seeing Ezekiel couldn't find purchase. It would have been a better tactical approach to provide armor to us than to add to the conflict by interacting with the conflict head on.
Good. Good, Tyler. Very good. Well, I'm hungry. Peter stands up from the edge and he goes, "Go clean up and take a break, take a rest, and we'll resume with lessons in the afternoon." As Peter goes to have lunch. This old man's like, "I'm fucking hungry. I haven't expended that much energy in years."
I haven't stretched that part of my hamstring in at least 4 years.
Peter will just kind of like put his hands on his back. He stands up like, "Fucking, oh," gives his chin a little rub, and then continue to walk out.
After the 3 students, licking their wounds, but with a level of understanding, with an appreciation for this wasn't a disciplinary thing. This wasn't you did something wrong, don't spare the rod kind of thing. This was more of you're a team and respecting one another, and not only their capabilities but their ideas, their approach, connecting it to the lesson of being within the classroom just previously about if this was an idea and you're aware of this idea and you guys aren't talking about it to have these conversations, it will lead to these kinds of moments.
Yeah.
You could almost...
Peter was trying to... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You could almost swear you heard somebody whispering in the training room. and it's just you currently. The students have left. Dryad is returning Excalibur and Caliburn to the armory and the safe vault. There's a moment where you could almost swear there was somebody whispering in here.
Did it sound like humanoid whispering, or did it sound like otherworldly?
A bit of both.
Bit of both.
And an uncomfortable bit of both.
Is it familiar?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I think in this moment, like Peter was like probably on his way out of the training room, like about to shut the lights off. But he'll like pause at the door, turn around, and I'll just kind of look at the place and just see what I can see, because I can see like, you know, morphing grid energy and things like that. So just see if I see anything out of the ordinary in this place. Because it's quite strange that someone could make it aboard the Red Dragon without him knowing.
Give me an alertness roll.
Got it. Okay. That is a crit on the D4, so 4 plus 14 for 18.
For the briefest of moments, it almost looked like the Chimera was standing in the corner of the room.
I'm assuming Peter blinks and he's gone, or...
There was no morphing grid energy connected to it, dark or light. There was no, like, when you look into a room and you look at a dark corner where there might be a jacket over something, you know, kind of, maybe that made the humanoid outline that I freaked out about in my sleep. There's nothing in that corner. But there was no energy in that corner. There was nothing. But you saw the gold-trimmed, vicious helmet, the armor, the staff, just like right between the legs, just crouched, looking at you.
Peter will just kind of shake his head a little bit, chalking it up to accessing the Oathbreaker today. But he will go to Dryad and ask him to scan the ship, or run a scan on the Red Dragon headquarters, and just see if there's any abnormalities.
And that's where we'll take our break. We'll see you all here in 5-10 minutes or so. Use the restroom, do all the human things, take care of yourselves, and we will return back with episode 1 of Morphing Multiverse. See you soon. welcome back, everyone, to Morphing Multiverse Episode 1, Seeing Red Again, with the wonderful Alec Lachman GM. Let's pick back up.
Yeah.
So we had gone to break with you seeing something that one, shouldn't be there, and two, shouldn't exist anymore.
No.
Like,
No.
in any way, shape, or form. You leave the training area. You come across Dryad as he is sealing up the arsenal lockout, where all of the power weapons that are deemed like essentially almost artifacts or way too powerful to just be floating around or in a single space are sealed up in. And he turns back to you and goes, I would have hit him a lot harder. I really.
Yes, I know, Dryad, but that is not the lesson I was trying to teach. You can't always beat them down. You need to teach them something. I was teaching them to work as a team and be prepared to improvise.
One of the fastest teachers is pain.
No.
I mean, you learned from it.
I did. And if I would have had the lessons that I was teaching them now, I wouldn't have had to go through so much pain.
Fair.
Because the Arcaknights, we were not organized. I was like Ezekiel in the beginning, always rushing in, getting my ass kicked. And it caused us a lot of problems later on.
That is fair. There's an undeniable fact.
Yes. Now, would you mind just running accessing that dark morphing grid power that I have? Just want to be sure. Would you mind running a scan on the Red Dragon headquarters? And just make sure there's no residual energies.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think something leaked out, or you?
I don't know, Dryad, and I would consider Dryad and I are probably pretty close
Yeah.
as far as my confidant. It's like I could have sworn in the corner of the practice room I saw the Chimera, but there was no morphing grid energy. I didn't sense him. It was, I don't know if it's a side effect of accessing the power that he gave me all those years ago, but I just want to be sure.
Better safe than sorry. Mordred, you guys destroyed Mordred, so I don't think it could be. It could just be residuals. Could just be in your head. It was a high stress moment, even with training, chemicals moving, humans.
I haven't accessed that exact power in 40 years since we defeated them.
Yes, that would be. I'll look into it. You can see the tank-like tracks just moves off, heads towards the the central command hub of the Red Dragon Fortress. Where are you going? What are you doing as that's happening?
I think Peter at this point he's got a bit of a thing that he does periodically just out of paranoia. Maybe not paranoia, but just like because when they won, Dark Spectre got away. Like we didn't defeat Dark Spectre. Dark Spectre got away, right?
No, Dark Spectre was locked in the Looking Glass. And when the timeline was fixed, the Phantom Ranger powers returned to the morphing grid. So Dark Spectre was essentially sent into the never-ending void of eternity.
So I'll shift what I'll do is I think what the kids brought up and seeing the Chimera gnaws at Peter a little bit. And so he will go to whatever kind of command center kind of technology that they have, and we'll just kind of check for any reports from other Ranger teams of, the current Ranger team with dealing with monsters, anything out of the ordinary with news related to Power Rangers or Morphing Grid, kind of related stuff, on their closed networks and beyond. And he'll sit down at the computer and kind of be like, man, I'm not good at this computer stuff. Where's Where's my best friend when I need him? And I'll
Give
just
me
begin to try
a
to.
technology roll.
Yeah, yeah. He'll just throw on his fucking edge of his nose, like fucking okay, and just like start to do the single type as I begin to work on the computer. What kind of role do you want?
Technology.
Technology, got it. Okay. Oh Jesus Christ. All right, well, that's a D4. Oh, not bad. Okay, so it's a 19 on the D20 plus 3, so 22.
Okay. Uh,
Where's Dior when I need him?
Luckily for you, Dior has like programmed in there like a personal assistant to like as you start typing things in, it'll autofill.
Yep.
So any of the previous searches of like ranger teams, monster attacks, things of that nature, automatically auto populates as soon as you put in the letter P. And
Yeah.
just small streams start coming up, live feeds from news channels, even some of like state documents like that are in like the Congress library of information about the Rangers and what interactions they've had and things of that nature start populating on the screen. The first video footage that you see is the current Ranger team that's operating. While you have not interacted with them, you have been very cognizant to keep an eye towards any team that comes into fruition. They seem to be in something very common for them is some kind of vehicle chase. There are 4 or 5 of their own vehicles that you are aware used as their Zords as well, are chasing down a collection of what would be like the foot soldiers for their current enemy, which looks like a bunch of like biker robots. And there's like chains hanging down the sign. You can see little sparks coming up every once in a while. They turn and fire towards one of the cars. Energy projections coming out of the high beams are taking out different, collections of them, but they seem like they've got that under control. There's nothing out of the ordinary to this interaction. Looking through the rest of the images and information that's coming up, nothing's pinging. Nothing is touching that specific area of information that you're looking for. Everything, for the most part, at least in the last 4 years, has been rudimentary, to say the best.
I think Peter will take off his glasses, put them back in his flannel pocket, and then he will communicate to Dryad and goes, anything on the scanner?
I ran one diagnostic and it was not populating. So then I ran another, and that one populated and said that we're the only ones in here. And then I didn't trust that one because of what you said about accessing that powers, and maybe it's just in your head. And so I ran it again, and I even looked at specifically footage and video of the training area, and it does look like something was there, but nothing is showing up on any of the scans.
Where are the kids?
They're all gathering themselves, getting prepared for the afternoon's classes.
Peter will rush from the command center to where the kids are.
Okay. Which one are you going to first?
Do they have separate rooms?
Yes.
Okay. Tylo first.
Tylo first?
No, Ezekiel first.
Ezekiel first? Okay. Rushing down the hallway, heading towards the bunking areas where their specific sleeping areas are at. You see Ezekiel is in the hallway, already walking towards the instruction room, and it looks like now he does have what was maybe a notebook, like a full notebook at some point in time, but there's chunks missing out of it, so it's got that weird wire bend to it.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 pens in his hand. And then he looks up, he sees you, like, oh,
Ezekiel, find Amara and meet me back in the command center.
okay.
And like he's got like Peter's got a stern, serious look on his face. Like I don't think they've ever seen this expression from him.
He holds up the notebook and the pens, and he's like, "Do we?" And he just
Go.
drops them on the floor and turns and heads towards where Amara's room is.
And then I'll go to Tylo then, since
Okay.
he's going to get Amara.
As you get closer and closer to Tylo's room, you've been around these rangers, you've been around these cadets, you've been around these students long enough. You're aware of their their habits, their mannerisms, things of that nature. As you get closer and closer to Tylo's room, you can hear him like chanting, but it sounds more like a prayer than like an incantation or anything like that. This is from his home world. This is like
Okay.
a prayer of some kind. It's in a Triforian language that he's going through this, but you can hear him from outside the door that he's like going through this in his room.
Kind of unceremoniously, Peter will open the door and go, Tylo, you need to come with me right now.
Opening the door, you could see a staff that appears to be carved out of wood, probably from one of the trees or branches from the forest in the surrounding area, that looks similar to the gold Zeo Ranger's staff that is like in front of his bed area, where he's got a couple of small crystals that are sitting around it. He is sitting there like head down. When the door opens, then he's like sits up very wide-eyed and is like, was I being too loud?
No, come with me now.
Okay. He just stands up and he gives a Triforian like bow to the relic, idolatry there, and then grabs his cadet jacket, throws it on, and goes to follow behind you.
And so once we're all gathered in the command center, is Dryad with us?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll look to the kids with kind of like a serious expression on my face and ask them without, any sort of context, and goes, did you all, or have you, since the exercise in the training room, hear anything, see anything strange out of the ordinary?
Ezekiel like looks at the other two. Because I didn't. I took a shower, and then I figured that we're gonna work as a team. We should all probably take notes, and I found a notebook and some pens.
The rest of you?
Amara goes, no, I cleaned up, got prepared, double checked my notes. I made a few notes from training in the space with you, and then Ezekiel came and got me. And Tylo just says, I was meditating. I didn't.
I think Peter will like turn to look at Dryad, just kind of sharing an expression. I know Dryad's robotic or automaton like, but what is the air of Dryad?
Dryad looks, so there's still like this humanoid, accoutrement to the facial area of this automaton, still emotable, and you see that even he has the like, I'm gonna start locking all of the doors right now to his face. Like, I'm gonna start closing everything in a second.
Peter will pull up the image that Dryad had pulled from the training room of that crouched chimera in the corner, and will just kind of zoom in on it, and goes, we may have a problem. Showing it to the trainees. Did any of you see this figure at all?
No, no, no. Like all three of them resounding no to it. Something does start to catch your attention as you're explaining this to them.
Okay.
The hologram projection of the outside that appears over the ceiling or roof area within the mobile command zord is showing storm clouds that were not in any way present earlier today.
Like the hologram is being affected, or actually outside there is a storm generating?
If the hologram were being affected, Dryad would be able to like.
Wouldn't.
No, it's just acting weird. No, this seems to be what is happening outside.
Okay. So Peter will look to Dryad, look to the other three, and he will I need you three to stay put, stay ready, stay with Dryad. I will be right back.
Where are you going?
I'm going to step outside for a moment. See if I can bait whatever this is to follow me.
Don't you think that's a bad idea?
It's either that or we allow this thing to continue to run around one of the most powerful Zords on the planet. And I'd rather get it out. And if it wants me, then I can bait it outside and deal with it. And if I need your help, I will call for you.
Amara is like fidgeting fingers. Okay. We're stronger than what you saw earlier. You know that.
I'll look to Dryad to see like what Dryad's expression is.
Dryad looks like he's gonna lock every door in this place and keep it secure. He's ready to put every applicable defense that this place has into motion.
Would Peter, like, just from his time actually fighting Mordred one-on-one and dealing with Mordred the first time, help me weigh this like the power levels of the kids? Is it a bad idea to take them with me? Like Alec doesn't know like just power level wise.
If it was Mordred that you saw in the corner, don't take the kids. You fought off the Chimera in the space in between so many times beforehand that if this is some remnant of the Chimera, if this is some like wraith apparition of it, you could definitely handle it without them. But they too could also, they could hold their ground, but they would need you there to ensure a victory, essentially. That's the difference in the power scaling between the Chimera and Mordred.
Right. So Peter will say, well, it's time to put my lesson to work. Let's go, team. Dryad, protect the ship. And then I will just begin to walk out, assuming they will follow me.
Oh, they're hot on your heels. You've never seen them more focused.
Good. I'm gonna need it. Peter on the walk will relay what he knows about the Chimera in case this is actually the Chimera, just so that they are ready for his illusions, the things he can do, those types of things.
Gotcha.
Just try to very quick debrief of the Chimera. and walk with them.
Amara turns to Ezekiel and says, "Okay, so with all that in mind, we don't just dive into this. We wait for our commander to identify which one is real, and then we can handle the illusions. They're not as strong, they're not as powerful, but they can still be, they can be like you, a nuisance." And then like turns to Tylo
Damn.
and goes,
Damn.
"You can move much faster than the rest of us. You have quicker access to the teleportation network. Not saying the commander's slow, but if need be, we're a team. We're working together. It's an idea. If need be, you could reposition him into an advantageous spot. If it looks like things might be going in a direction we don't want it to, we can move, we can reposition, or we can try and send them away while we regain strength or power." And Tyler's like nodding entirely.
Mm-hmm.
There is no longer that quaking to him.
Mm-hmm.
He has found the courage. And it's as this conversation is happening, you see the blue and silver light over Amara, like weaving back and forth through her.
I
And
think in Peter's head as they're walking, kind of like he's been waiting, and I think in this moment, like in his head for their trading, he's like putting Amara kind of ahead as will end up being the leader of this team. In his head, that she will be the one to lead this team.
Yeah.
As she is in this moment.
You now find yourself at the bay doors of the mobile fortress Megazord.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to go outside.
And I think in this moment, Peter will just extend his hand to the right, and kind of in that red morphing grid energy, Excalibur will appear in his hand as he will go into his Red Dragon Arcaknight form.
Just
As
right into
he'll
base
do
form at the start off?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And he'll turn to the kids, and through the visor, say, "You should morph as well."
And all three like simultaneously cross wrists, drawn across, and then morph into the Proto Rangers. The door begins to open.
Mm-hmm.
As you hear Dryad through your helmet, and you know through the other threes.
Mm-hmm.
This is bad.
What do you mean?
We have no connection with any other Rangers.
Okay, keep trying.
I'm going to turn the defenses on first.
Good.
That
And
blip
go
goes
ahead.
away of him connecting with you in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Peter will stride from the Red Dragon Zord, the Red Dragon headquarters, with the Proto Rangers behind him, and we'll just begin to kind of case this, case the forest, the sky, and see what I can see.
No roll needed in your Ranger form currently because you know what you're looking for.
Right.
These clouds are dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as they are fully collected over this space in this forest above this headquarters, and it starts to rain. It's not water. You're seeing a black, viscous like fluid just downpour around all of you. And as it connects with your ranger form in particular, there is a connection to something that you've been holding on to as a very big, in case of emergency, ability. The last time you were coated in spell ink when you faced Mordred. That one last usage.
Yeah. Get your weapons out.
Raining ink.
Spell ink. Peter will, like, as he will extend Excalibur to the side, he will say, I saw you hiding in the gym. Why don't you come out and we can talk? Just like looking around.
Amara has moved into a position behind the dragon's head, as it's like in that curled, almost like over a horde position in the forest. Has gotten to the top of it and is hidden behind one of the horns. And you can see she already has the sapphire blaster, and the silver whip is like wrapped around her arm, waiting to be used, and she's just like looking over the area. Your helmet acknowledges Tylo bouncing between 7 different points in the open area. Like, you're only seeing these small flashes of black and gold across the field, even with all of this ink, now falling over the area. You can see him. It's a pattern that you know, but no one else has ever fought these rangers. No one else knows these rangers.
Right.
And you're able to perceive that. Ezekiel on your left, dagger in hand, buckler on the other arm. As your eyes move in one direction, his are scanning the opposite, watching over different areas. You're not seeing anything, but you do hear. You were supposed to be a better version of me. You were supposed to be the stronger version of me. What I would give to have a body again. There is a form displaced by the falling ink, an outline of the chimera. And as each droplet lands over this apparition, it's starting to gain a physical form, but it's still like it needs more. It needs so much more. But there's some physicality now starting to show through.
Last I checked, I was a better, stronger version of you. Because last I checked, I put you down. Not once, but twice. Are we going to make it an even third? Are we going to make it a hat trick?
You took my vessel. You bested my warrior. I and the half incorporeal, non-existent form, the drips of ink showing just barely, a body starts moving across the battlefield, heading in your direction.
Through the helmet, Peter will just say, "Rangers, go!" And then we'll close the distance to meet him in the middle.
Alrighty. So, instead of rolling initiative and doing all that crazy stuff, when you go, you tell me which one of the three are going to go at the same time as you. Then after you and one of them go, the Chimera will then go. And then we'll do it that way.
Okay. So I will first say, Ezekiel, give me some height, and I'll ask like Ezekiel to like set the shield up like a step.
Slides to get in front of you and then braces.
And then Peter will do a classic as he launches off and up, like he launches off of the shield, does a bit of a forward flip, wrapping his hands around where it was, and just like he did Dark Spectre, I'm gonna suplex this bitch and RKO down to the ground.
Let's go! Give me athletics.
Yeah, absolutely. I figured I should pull in some of the old moves. Okay. Athletics is a 10, 18, 20, 26.
26.
I still remember when I did an RKO in the Megazord.
Just beat it.
Okay.
Just beat it. Toughness in their unrealized form is 25. All right.
Okay. And then I will suplex him with RKO him with my first attack, kind of tumbling off him, already on my feet again. And then the Excalibur will be on his back as he pulls out his grimoire, and he'll go, since last we met, Gina taught me a few things, as I'm going to throw my hands out and I'm going to begin some spell casting, using the ink to restrain this form. Strengthened by the ink, and use it to restrain
That will be a D12 specialized roll with magic.
And then I have something when I do a specialized roll, I upcast, or I have an up because I'm a grid soldier. I have an upshift. So does a D12 go to a D20, or do I just roll 2D?
D12 goes to 2D8.
2D8, got it. Okay. Do I still roll a D20 or no?
Yes. So the 2D8 would count as another one of your skill dice, essentially.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's a 6 and a 5 on the D8 and a 17 on the D20. So 11, 28. 28.
Yes, and that does beat the unrealized evasion. So RKO'd. And then using the spell ink, you summon these tendrils out from the earth, and there's still this like ringing of fire with like veins of natural gold in the tendrils that come out that start grabbing onto the unrealized chimera. So that's two.
That's two. And now that I've got him pinned, I will grab, because I'm assuming Ezekiel, his move was to boost me, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't do another thing.
Rush forward, slid on the ground, got the shield up, and then push.
And then he'll pull Excalibur back off his back, and he will lift it up and bring it, basically blade point down into the chest of this unrealized form, doing a power strike, straight down.
I want you to make that roll with disadvantage.
So Red Ranger Prime gives me advantage on something. No. It just gives me an edge.
Yeah.
It gives me edge, and it gives me more damage. Okay, disadvantage means in this game
2d20, take the lowest, and then add your skill die as normal.
Okay, got it. Okay, so the lower of the d20 is a 10, The other one was a 19, but it's a 10 plus still the 10 plus that's 8, 14, 16. So it's a 10 plus 16, so for 26.
26 just hits again. Uh,
Um,
Bringing the sword down.
9 damage.
Bringing the sword down, you notice that the area that you were going to strike at, there was yet to be any ink.
Mm-hmm.
And just as the sword gets ready to come into contact, drops hit that part of the body and start to form, and then the sword finds purchase. 9 points of damage.
9 points of damage.
Okay.
And that's my third attack. I got one more. I will then with my last attack, I will I'm you know what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, now that Excalibur is in his gut, I'm going to pull Excalibur with my fourth attack, like dragging Excalibur through him and out through the ink, the formed part of him. Do I just roll with advantage again, or
this will be a
again?
flat roll?
Okay, got it.
Because you'll be going through areas that would have ink and wouldn't have ink, so it's like
12 plus let's say 29.
Yep. Grabbing, holding, and then wrenching and dragging back. You can see like where areas of the ink had started to create the form are being severed and cut through. You're starting to see some of that old black armor. Just small bits of it as you rip through. There's another 9 points, correct?
Yep, correct. So 18 damage so far. And then I will free action. You'll see the Red Dragon Arcaknight armor kind of shimmer and take on just a darker hue as I'm going to use Righteous Heart to give myself resistance. Can you go over the forms of damage in this game? Energy, sharp, bludgeoning. What else is there?
Energy, sharp, bludgeoning, fire, cold, lightning, void.
Void. That's the one I'm looking for.
Okay.
As I'm going to give myself resistance to void damage.
Good call. God damn it.
Level 20, baby. Yeah, and that'll be my free action.
Alrighty.
There was one other thing that I have now. I can't remember what it is. Something. It's like a team skill that I get at level 9 that I can't remember exactly what it was. That affects me and my allies fighting the same creature. Hold on, let me pull it up.
They can either add 1 to the damage or get an upshift of 1 to any enemy that you have already attacked since your last turn.
Yeah, so they'll get bonuses to anything they do going forward while we're fighting this guy.
Oh no, they get 2 because you're level 20, and at 18 it becomes 2 instead of 1. Alrighty, it is now on the unrealized Chimera. We are going to spend 10 points of personal power.
Huh?
That puts him,
What?
That puts him at 4. With him wrapped in those vines and those tendrils of earth and fire and gold, you stabbing into them with Excalibur, dragging it through the form, ink still falling from the sky. The face now becomes visible. This twisted, snarling, helmed face of the Chimera. And where before they spoke, and similar to other Rangers speaking, you would just hear it outside of the helmet, the mouth of this one starts moving as it's speaking.
Ew.
You still have a power That should be mine. He is going to steal the Oathbreaker form
How in the hell are you gonna do that?
by spending 10 points of personal power. He steals one of the advanced forms from Rangers in the area.
Got it.
In doing so, he now takes the Oathbreaker form as the Chimera, making him now realized.
Okay.
He is going to... This was a spell that you used to create the grapple effect,
yeah. I
right?
use basically like over the 40 years he learned something from Gina on how to actually wield his magic.
Yep.
And with the level of spell ink around him, kind of giving him also an extra edge, used that to bind him.
With a 37, he removes the magic of the grasp. Which one reminds you of Dior? You see the head is like twisting and turning as they seem to be aware of the location of all three of them.
Your fight is with me, Chimera.
Yes, but I need something stronger. Roll a d6.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is 1 and 2?
Let's go with Tilo.
Tylo is 1 and 2. 3 and
Amara
4.
3 to 4. 3 and 4 is Amara. 5 to 6 Ezekiel.
Okay.
Fuck me. God damn it! I knew it.
One of the flashes of black and gold.
Mm-hmm.
You know the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
The next stop would have been flanking with you and Ezekiel. And a hand just grabs. And there's vibrating black and gold energy. Oh, it's this one, huh? And starts squeezing down. He is going to extract aspect.
Okay.
He's either going to gain a Black Ranger ability or a Gold Ranger ability from Tylo.
Mm-hmm.
He is extracting from gold. Okay. You see Tylo is like grabbed the hand that's holding him and is like actively trying to teleport them away. Like you're seeing forces of teleportation energy just being funneled into the Chimera. That one seems perfect for this. A burst of ink, and the Chimera is no longer in front of you.
Where is he?
Give me an alertness roll.
But just that'll be 24.
24. You can see where the ink is starting to reconstitute in this teleportation.
Did he still have Tylo, or did he drop Tylo after
He let go of Tylo as he teleported. You can see the ink is starting to reconstitute up towards the top of the dragon head.
Okay.
Where Amara is at.
Is it my go?
Yes, it is your go now. And one of the students.
I will look to Tylo. Are you okay?
Yeah, he's up there. And like
Take
is
me there.
looking right where Amara is. Grabs you and then activates Gold Rush, the two of you at Mock Jesus. Normal teleporting is like an instantaneous between one point to the other. Gold Rush, and specifically the way that Tylo uses it, it is like a ball of energy shooting past you or moving between spaces. You are now instantly up at the top where the ink is now finally starting to take form.
As he appears in front of the Chimera with Tylo, he'll go, "You shouldn't have hurt my kids." And I'm gonna use my first attack to tackle him off of the top of the dragon head.
Okay.
Um, and
Give me
so
athletics.
yeah, yeah, I will. So that is a 32 for athletics. Because I get advantage and upshifts on everything straight
one. By one.
As I tackle him off into us kind of tumbling over each other, I will second attack, go to lock him in place.
Okay.
And that again is this time that is 10, 16 plus what's 16 plus 18?
16 plus 18 is 34.
34. So 34 as I lock him in place and I go, "Nobody touches my fucking kids." And because I have sync with my Zord, I'm going to have my Zord breathe fire forward on the two of us. Holding him in front so he will take the brunt of it as I go, "Nobody touches my fucking kids." And ordering my Zord to fire blast at him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Targeting for the sword.
Yeah, no one touches my fucking kids. Which my Zord is now a Titan War Zord. So this has a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So 3 and then upshift there. It has.
It would also have 2 upshifts from your Red Ranger ability as well.
Yes, it
from
would.
Team Focus because it's considered a part of your team.
It is. So that is Jesus Christ. That's a 36. That's a 30 fucking 6. And it base does 3 damage. Plus another 3. Plus I believe
plus 2 from
plus
team.
2.
So that's 8.
Yep. 8, and then it but there was something else with it, wasn't there? Sorry, it's been a while since I used the Zord's stat block.
You're good.
I don't even know if I can remember. Hold on, I think I have to go back into our DMs to get this information.
We'll go with a solid 10 on the damage because I know that there was also previous upgrades to Cinder prior to.
Oh, so this is, and then it's an additional 2. So it's 12 damage.
Yeah,
it's 12 because there's 2 more. As I hold him and let him take the brunt of the blast.
He is going to use 1 reaction to half all of that because it is still considered magical. Because it is still coming from your Zord, as all of your things as an Arcaknight Ranger are based in magic, essentially. He's just halving that damage to 6 instead of the full fucking 12, goddammit. And then regaining 6 points of personal power from that. So that puts him at 10 of 14.
And as this like crater of fire, the smoke kind of wanes. You see Peter's activated his Guildmaster form. He's used the personal power, the free action, to go into his Guildmaster form, which is this kind of more gilded gold and red, more like heavily armored, long, almost like fur-like cloak, kind of, almost like a crown on top.
And even now, at this time, your Guildmaster form, since you are currently the only active Arcaknight Ranger, the symbols on the armor itself are also of Tamrit, Chiron, Rowan, all of the other arcane familiars, even Philo is on there, is all on the armor as well.
And I will then oh boy, here we go. I am gonna then use its. Let's see, which form do I want to use? I'm gonna use the muscle form. And just with my last attack, hit him as hard as I possibly can. As I like kind of toss him to the ground while he's still smoking, I will throw Excalibur up in the sky as this power strike begins to develop. As the muscles of Peter, as he like All Might swells, and I'm going to bring it down on his goddamn head.
Yes.
Yeah. That is gonna be 17 plus what's 17 plus 6 is 23 plus another 9. So 23 plus 9, 32 for the strike.
By fucking 1, god damn it. His toughness is 31.
And as I bring this down on him, I think I'll also spend a personal power to make it an additional. Wait, no. I will make it a blazing strike as well. So as he's already on fire, the next ally that attacks him will get an upshift of 2 to hit him. So that is going to be 9 damage.
They now get an upshift of 4 plus 2 more damage on top of it. Mm-hmm. It's oh god, it's disgusting. Okay, and that was 9 more damage, correct?
9 more damage. Yeah, okay. 9 more damage. Well, it was a power strike. You know what? It was a power strike. So I got plenty of personal power to play with. Let's stack 4 more on top of that to make it a lucky 13.
Yeah. Let's do that.
As Peter will just stand over it and through the communique and go and it will say to Ezekiel and Tylo, protect Amara. Amara, when you see the opening, take the shot. And that will be my turn.
All right, we're at.
You forgot what it was like to have me in combat, baby. You handed me a level 20.
Oh, okay, all right. Now, he is desperate. He is assuredly desperate now. 30 feet. You are the only one within 30 feet of him because
I tackled him. Yeah.
Tylo stayed up top after teleporting, after gold rushing the 2 of you up there. Amara is still up there. Ezekiel is now rushing in that direction. So you're the only one within 30 feet of him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Which is kind of my plan, was to get him away from the kids.
Your willpower defense is what?
My willpower defense at this stage should be 21.
21, okay.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to make a roll, and this is targeting your willpower.
Is this a fear causing effect at all?
No.
Okay, I was like, I'm immune.
This is a dominate effect. This is not fear or anything of that nature. This is a D10, but he is in. Okay, so that will be 2d8. Okay. So let me roll a d20 first. I'm not going to get higher than that. That is a 29 against your willpower.
So as he goes to influence me and I begin to feel his influence, because of Grid Soldier, I will spend a personal power to end the condition that is on me. As a free action.
Okay. As that...
You're never gonna get in my head again.
You felt the ink, like, trying to seep under the helmet into your ears as it, like, is forced into your pores instead,
Mhm.
regathering with the already self-contained spell ink that you have.
Sorry, Ark.
This is exactly why I wanted you. This right here is why you should have gained my power. Oh well. Can't say I didn't. There is a ringing.
Mm.
A bit of sapphire blue energy goes past your shoulder and connects into the realized chimera beneath you.
Mhm.
You could see some of the almost like silver flakes within it start ripping ink off of this form, like tearing it and deleting it and cleansing it away. But the sapphire blaster doesn't make a noise.
Mhm.
Your chest feels heavy. Look down. There's a hole. There's definitely silver grid energy connected to this. You feel the morphing grid leaving you.
May I react? Or
Absolutely.
so, did the shot come from behind me? Or
All you know is there's a hole. You don't
in my
know
chest?
what direction it came from. You heard the
Okay.
sound of it.
Peter will kind of stumble to the side as I mean the chimera is deleted, right? It's gone or
Deleted. that
deleted.
sapphire shot took the last point that it had, essentially.
As Peter will kind of turn to look at the kids, looking at the hole in his chest, feeling the power leave him. Um, Peter will use Excalibur to steady himself.
Excalibur doesn't appear in your hand.
I already. Oh, okay.
It's
I can't call on it.
it,
Okay.
you're
I
watching
was gonna
the.
call.
It's like leaving you.
I will look to the kids, and if there's a possibility that I can do something in my final moments here, um,
What would you like to do?
with all of the spell ink around, Peter is going to, with his last moments, pull whatever power he has left and gift, to your choice, each one of his abilities to each one of the kids.
Okay.
Is will just pull his remaining strength into these three red and gold orbs in front of him with his spell casting, and like look up at them and goes, "You're on, kids," and I'll send it their way as Peter I think falls forward.
Just before falling forward, as you're gathering that energy to send off to them, you see the three of them were celebrating, not realizing what's happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're all gathered together, like arm over shoulders, like hands in the air, like celebrating, jumping up and down, looking to you before you fall back.
Mm-hmm.
And these orbs of energy reach them. And you can see them now, like, leaping off this vision of these three rangers. Like, they're jumping into the energy, but they're diving to try and save you simultaneously before everything goes dark.
Okay.
And for the audience, and for the rest of the morphing grid, about 200, 300 yards away, we see the end of a silvered, almost magnum-styled revolver in the hands of a silver ranger. Small bits of smoke coming out of the end of the barrel. We couldn't risk it happening, right? We couldn't risk it happening again. Gamma, take me back to the ship. So a wrap of silver energy wraps around this ranger and pulls them into the sky. And that is where we end episode 1 of Morphing Multiverse. Thank you so much to our wonderful audience, to all of the wonderful people who are watching here on Twitch or will be watching on YouTube here in the next few days. I have been your Gridmaster Arc, or Arc-like Court, but I would not be capable of starting this story or telling any of these amazing tales without the first episode featuring none other than my Red Ranger. 2 years to the day of the first episode of Arcaknights going up on YouTube. Go ahead and tell them who you are, where they can find you, and whatever you want to plug.
Yeah, I am Alec Lachman, GM on everything social media, formerly known online as Alecthebard. I'm a TTRPG content creator, TTRPG designer, professional game master, all sorts of things. You can find me under Alec Lachman GM, pretty much anywhere. Or you can find my shows, Tales of Novum, on YouTube. And I've had a blast coming back as Peter and given Arc heart palpitations. How hard it is to fight a level 20 ranger, especially one like me. Fucking read
by 1 fucking point each time. But thank you so much, my Red Ranger forever, my Red Ranger, my brother, my friend. Thank you for being episode 1, and thank you for helping kick this off. Thank you, everyone who is here joining us tonight for the episode, and I can't wait for you guys to see episode 2. And I'm thinking, should I? I might. I think I should give them a little taste. Episode 2 will feature none other than a fluffy Goomba.
Yeah.
A wonderful TTRPG actual play performer who does amazing stuff all over the internet, and also featured on Tales of Novum in Echoes of Legacy, or Legacy of Echoes?
Echoes of Legacy. Yeah,
Echoes
he plays Gene on Echoes of Legacy, the badass technician and mech warrior from Echoes of Legacy, Gene, who is gonna, I'm sure, absolutely kill it.
And episode 2 is titled, if it will, I'm going to edit this out on the VOD, so you guys won't have to worry about this when you watch it later. Episode 2, titled Never Miss a Shot, with a fluffy Goomba playing Giovanni Irving, the Revolve Silver Ranger. I'm so hyped.
I gotta message him immediately.
Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next time on Morphing Multiverse here, twitch.tv/ArclightCourt or youtube.com/TheArclightCourt. Have a wonderful one. Thank you for being here.
Bye, everybody.